Every man carries a circle of hell around his head like a halo. Every man has to go through hell to reach his paradise.
Christoph, let me ask you, why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
What's your dream? Some dreams come true, some don't. But keep on dreaming. This is Hollywood.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the final episode of this season. So we left it off in episode 7, the story part, where I pack up my bags and I decide, after this revelation that I had on grade 4, to suddenly move out to Los Angeles and pursue the dream that I always had. Little did I know it was going to turn into a nightmare. And then it would turn again into another dream as I woke up from the nightmare. So we're going to pick up the story from there, and we're going to cover, here's how it's going to work. If you're new here, what we're doing is on the storyline, we're covering that on the parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. And the reason for the intermediate videos or the half videos is those are the technical training films where we reverse engineer, or as they say in Scientology, false data strip. Somebody left that in a comment today, by the way. Thank you for that. I told you I was going to steal that idea. This is false data stripping, what Scientology actually is. There's what L. Ron Hubbard and the Scientologists and believers say that it is, and then there's what it really is, which we're reverse engineering and hopefully showing you step by step. And then at the end of this, when all this makes sense, the dots connect and the picture is shown, people can make up their minds as to what they want to do after that. Anyways, so that's sort of how the structure works, and where we're going to be covering this in 3 more seasons. Like I said, this is the end of this season because we covered all the background, who my family is, and how this whole thing started. And then I became a real Scientologist, and then I move out to Hollywood, which is the second part of this story. And then in season 3, we're going to cover the deprogramming process, the escape process, and the whole journey that was all about. So what we're going to be covering in this episode is, like I said last time, I had this revelation on grade 4. I packed up my shit. Me and my girlfriend had a breakup. I sold my landscape company and off I went to Hollywood within a month. You know, so I remember one of the moments that sticks out most to me in this is that I had a girlfriend for about 7 years, I believe, and we were off and on, and we were together at that time. And I remember we had we were sitting outside on my shitty little you know, studio apartment, ledge balcony type thing. And I was explaining to her why I was going to, you know, sell my shit and go off to Los Angeles. And she had no idea at the time what was going on at all. I was so solidly a Scientologist by this point. I so had my mind made up that little did she know that this is what Scientology does. Like, I needed her to become a Scientologist or we couldn't be together. I had decided I'm going to go out to LA and do this thing. We're going to be an hour away. And if we're going to still continue to be together, she has to be a Scientologist, especially now because it's going to be like a long distance relationship. So there was a time when, just before this, where I kind of convinced her to go down to the Mission and to just check it out. No pressure, just check it out. She didn't even really know I was a Scientologist until kind of late in the game when we were dating. It was something that I kept a secret from people. Because I wasn't totally a Scientologist. It was in and around the family all the time. It was what we were indoctrinated into, but I didn't bring it up because I didn't like it. But when I did become a Scientologist, I still kept it a secret. So I don't know what her reaction was when I first started telling her and slipping her the ideas that I was a Scientologist. So, you know, I said in one of the previous videos, you're trained almost right away how to get other people into it, but you pretend like you're not. No pressure. Hey, just check it out for yourself. How would you know if it doesn't work if you don't just check it out for yourself? No pressure. Just don't judge it before you check it out. It's that kind of attitude. But I just did this drug rehabilitation program. I was cleaning up my life. I was starting to feel like good about myself. And so I knew what I wanted to do. And if she wasn't going to become a Scientologist, I didn't have any time to fucking waste. So she didn't know that while she went down there that night, and she also met with Jim Hammery and, you know, went through the whole let's try to find the ruin type thing. Thank God it didn't work on her. And, you know, we were driving home that night, and we were talking about the experience, but I tried to pretend like it wasn't a big deal. But she didn't know that if she didn't become a Scientologist, like right then and there, that was going to be it. So part of that too is I was moving up in Scientology for the last couple of years at this point. And even if she did get involved, there's so much that she needs to do to be up at my case level, because you get very arrogant about the different levels that you're at, that I almost just wanted to kind of get a Scientologist. That's how much this shit was in my head even before I moved out here to Los Angeles. So little did she know that her answer that night was going to determine everything. So she kind of said, well, what do you think I should do? And this and that. And I'm like, hey, you know, it's up to you. No pressure. Do whatever you want. And inside, I'm secretly going, God damn it, you better fucking take to this. I fucking hope you do. But I'm not going to pretend like I care. Long story short, that didn't happen. We're sitting out on that balcony type thing outside of my place in Ventura. And I don't even remember what bullshit excuse I made or what I said, but I definitely left that part out about her needing to become a Scientologist. And I made it about something else. So that night, we're sitting there on the porch talking all night. And we basically end up breaking up. And I got in my car shortly after that, after she left. And I was so bawling my eyes out and so confused as to, am I making the right decision? Am I just dreaming? What the fuck is going on? 20 minutes into that drive, I got pulled over by a cop. And I was so out of my mind and so in tears that he just took one look at me and he said, dude, what's going on, man? And I just started babbling to him, explaining, you know, I just broke up with my girlfriend, going on a tangent. And he's just like, yeah, dude, have a good night, man. I hope you're okay. So I pack my bags. I move out to Hollywood. And like I said in the last video, I got a little bit of a taste of what I was getting into by doing my first extra job on the movie called Basketball. The very first place that I move into is a rundown, small-ass shack of a room right off of L. Ron Hubbard Way, right off of Big Blue, the famous Big Blue. Scientology has a lot of property where, in and around the places where some rich Scientologists usually will buy property and then rent it out to a bunch of Scientologists while they're taking their courses and doing their OT levels and whatever. So here I am in with like fucking 12 other people in this small ass like house in a shack of a room. And I'm thinking I'm living the life though, you know? I mean, this is what it's like. It's, this is how everybody starts out as a starving artist. So I feel like this is great. You know, I'm sort of living the dream. And also it was a comfort being, I never would have, it's like a paradox when I look back at this, because the very things that got me in trouble are also the very things that kind of led me to where I wanted and needed to go. You know, I would never have gone out to Los Angeles and tried to pursue my dreams or had the confidence to do that if I didn't already have a pre-existing network out in Los Angeles. Because, you know, I spent my time at Celebrity Center. That's where I went most of the time before I got onto the advanced levels. And then I went to the Big Blue area where they deliver the OT levels. So I already had a network of people that I knew I was going to be able to meet. They were in the business. This was part of what I was learning when I was growing up in Scientology, is John Travolta's in it. Tom Cruise is in it. You know, they were actors and I wanted to be an actor. So it was like a preset network and streamlined way to kind of maybe get into the business, or at least have a base in which to, you know, land. I only lived an hour away, but any artist or actor or musician that moves out here will tell you that one of the most difficult things is just meeting new friends or networking and stuff like that. So in Scientology, and it's definitely part of why they get a lot of hopefuls and dreamers and shit, is because they subtly and not so subtly offer a network for you to have the very things that I just described. So I go from moving, I'm living in this shack, I'm living the life, I'm doing extra work as a job because I was trying to then, as I always was, trying to do as little work as possible for the most amount of money. So as an extra, you can basically take your brain out, put it in the car, and then go to work. And you get free food and shit. You make pretty decent money. You kind of have to join the union before you start making like more than minimum wage. But you know, I was on set. I was learning about all this shit. It's the easiest job in the world. You have to deal with a lot of idiots and stuff, which I couldn't stand. But I would just, you know, go off into the corner and just read L. Ron Hubbard books while everybody else was farting around and shit. I was studying L. Ron Hubbard tech and shit, literally on set. So it was like getting paid to study and to do what I was interested in, not having a real job. So I did that for a long time when I first started doing this shit. So here I am living in this shack of a room for, you know, a few months. And then I move over, I upgrade to living in basically a fucking attic in this house on L. Ron Hubbard Way, right on Big Blue. I can't believe they actually named a fucking street L. Ron Hubbard Way. That's like naming something like Hitler Drive or something. But anyway, so I'm living in this fucking attic of a room. And I say that because, you know, the more you go in, like the more you have to duck down because the room fucking like bends. And also it had this circular window like out of Psycho. You know, when I'm thinking about these places that I live, that shack right off of L. Ron Hubbard Way, and then this fucking like haunted house I was like living in on Big Blue Drive, it's fucking creeps me fucking out. But since I'm so used to, I talked about this in an earlier video, and I'll go into it more when we get deeper into this. But, you know, it seems normal just to be in creepy environments and not to recognize kind of the bad energy. But when I look back at that fucking attic house that I was living in and walking up the creaking stairs, and the people that lived there, of course, were Scientologists. They were fucking creepy. And then there's this ominous big blue building that used to be a hospital I can look out my little fucking window from Psycho and like see this fucking thing. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm thinking I'm in paradise. I'm out here in Hollywood. I'm living the dream. So I was living in the attic, and I signed up for the Beverly Hills Playhouse. That was the very first acting class that I ever took. And it was also, as people I'm sure know, it's a Scientology class. So again, it was having a network of people that were Scientologists, or most of them were, or at least half of them were. it was definitely a Scientology school, and they would recruit from there. We'll talk a lot more about the Beverly Hills Playhouse and stuff like that as we go along. But anyways, again, I had a community there. I studied with a guy named Gary Imhoff, and I felt comfortable because they were, like I said, most of them were Scientologists. So my basic first year or two out in Scientology, before I got sucked back to the Ventura mission, which we're going to cover, and that's when we're going to take up the Steiners and talk about all of that. So I didn't forget about that. We're going to get up to that point. But we're covering right now the first year or two when I'm out in Los Angeles. And the basic routine was doing extra work, taking casting director workshops, because I thought I was going to be famous within 6 months to a year. I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks this, but when I thought it was going to take me a year to be a series regular on a WB show. I had no idea what I was getting into. I pretty much just wanted to be famous. I had a natural liking towards acting, which I mentioned earlier, how I got into it when I was younger, but it became a much deeper thing for me, which we'll get into as we go along. And I mentioned previously too that it was wanting to be an artist that both got me into Scientology because I was a dreamer, and it also is what got me out, and I'll talk more about that. But when I first came out to Los Angeles, it was just, hey, I want to be famous. It's going to take about a year. And needless to say, it didn't quite work out that way. Eventually, the casting director workshops, where you have to pay money, and then you get seen by a casting director, and maybe if you're lucky, they'll call you in to like do an under 5. That's a 5 lines and under job, if you're lucky. And you have to pay several $100s just to try to like play the lottery and hope that they'll pick you. This was the whole mentality of what I thought the whole game was about. Only later on did I actually fall in love with acting and what it actually brought to me in terms of just being able to explore myself. That became actually far more important than even the business and everything itself. And that's when I kind of started to actually work. So when I was doing extra work and by day and doing acting classes at the Beverly Hills Playhouse by night, I was also taking classes at CC or Celebrity Center. That you don't have to be a celebrity to go there. But that is where the celebrities, the actors, the producers, musicians, the hotshots in Hollywood that are also Scientologists, that's where they all go to get brainwashed. So that's where I would go. And I was really excited, by the way, when I moved from Ventura up to CC, because I knew, like I said, I had a preset place where I not only knew people in the biz, but I also might make connections. I might actually be able to talk to other, semi-famous C-level actors that are also Scientologists. And maybe one day I'll meet Tom Cruise. Like, I was actually thinking shit like that, but now it's the last thing I want to do is meet Tom Cruise. But anyway, so there you have it. That was the basic couple years. It's a lot of struggle, a lot of not making any fucking money, but living the dream, going up the bridge, and basically taking classes and loving pretty much every second of my life, having absolutely no idea just how fucked up my life, my thinking, and my mind and the environment and all the Scientologists and people that I'm hanging out with actually is. It all seemed fucking normal, like the Truman Show. So as we close out this season with this last episode, this is a little preview of what we're going to be talking about in the meat and potatoes of the story. Because, guys, I've done 15, 14 videos or something so far. And in so many ways, it seems like I haven't even actually started to tell the goddamn story yet or any of this. So we have a lot to talk about. The second and third season in particular are going to be a lot longer because this is where we actually can start talking about the Scientology adventure, the indoctrination adventure, and then also Hollywood and how, again, like I said in many videos, how everything's going to connect at the end. I think you're going to see a bigger picture of more than just Scientology because real briefly, during the deprogramming process, which we're going to get into in season 3, I learned a shitload from being stuck in a cult and then having to learn various subjects, which I wouldn't have been introduced to otherwise in order to get out. So we're going to be covering a lot of that, as well as how Hollywood and the global scene in general ties in, and where Scientology and these other cults fit in. Because like I said in one of the very first videos, most people have absolutely no idea how this secret society and cult network, the influence that it has on their average daily lives. So my hope is that by telling the story and, you know, educating people just on some of the stuff that I learned, how Scientology operates, we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into their web, into their layers, because it's like peeling the onion skins off of an onion. So as we go deeper and deeper into this, the story is going to get deeper and deeper, and the stuff that we're going to be talking about is going to be more detailed. I hope I had my mind blown by this experience, so I hope that you like the information that we haven't even really started to get into. So there's three basic timelines on this second season that we're going to cover. The first one was where the first few years in Scientology consisted of going down to Celebrity Center and taking courses, the art course, the PTSSP course, the communication course. I was taking all these courses because I figured that Scientology and making it as an actor, as well as a human being, go hand in hand. It felt like I had an advantage by being a Scientologist, guys. Like, it's all placebo effect, but if you believe that you have an edge up, a special technology, a way to communicate, which will help you out in the audition rooms better than other actors, it can really be a confidence booster, as well as the network that I talked about that you get to mingle with. It really set a good groundwork for being able to try to break into the business, even though it fucking took forever. So those first few years consisted of going to Celebrity Center and taking courses. I had just finished grade 4 out here in Ventura, and the auditing is super expensive, and I wasn't making as much money as I was with the landscape company. So I just took courses, which are expensive, but not nearly as much as the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars that the auditing cost. So Celebrity Center, doing extra work, scrambling any other ways that, you know, I could make money, and basically trying to break into the business was the first few years of being down here. And within about 2 years, I did get my first under 5, which we talked about earlier, where you get 5 lines or under, on a television show called Passions.
Oh yeah. Celtics ain't got nothing on us.
No, bro. It was this really cheesy soap opera, but for me, it was like, holy shit, dude, I got my first part. My mom was like a fucking fanatic watching soap, so I'm like, she's going to see me. I'm going to get her love. Everybody's going to see me on television. Like I said, it was like a total like ego-driven thing for the longest time before I found out what it was really all about. All the bullies that used to pick on me in school, they'll fucking, you know, wish they hadn't, because I thought everything was going to be solved. My parents are going to like me finally. I'm going to be able to this is what I had in my head. I'm going to be able to be a public figure as a Scientologist and sell Scientology to the rest of the world after I become famous. So I'm a philanthropist as well. And all this was going to happen within a year. This is the level of egotism and kind of delusion that Scientology can instill in you while, you know, you think you're totally sane or whatever. Anyway, so that's phase 1. And then phase 2 happens when I meet a guy named Bobby Lyons.
If we're talking about acting and we're talking about actors, I don't know, I'm from the old school, New York. I just think the training that's from New York was just a little more demanding, a little more, you had to have it more in your heart. You had to have it in your blood. You had to have that pulse beating, you know? Plus, if you like to do it, it helps. Actually loving it.
If you're a Scientologist and you're in the biz, there was 2 major places that you went to because they were Scientology schools. That was the Beverly Hills Playhouse. That's the one everybody wanted to go to because it's run by Milton Casalas. It was famous. There's a lot of famous people that came out of there. I'm going to have so much to say about the Beverly Hills Playhouse, Milton's story, which is an amazing story in itself, and that whole scene. God damn, what a story that is. But anyway, so you either went to the Beverly Hills Playhouse or you went to Robert F. Lyons, Bobby Lyons, this amazing guy who I absolutely love, who I'll have a lot to say about. He was pivotal in me falling in love with acting and realizing what it was really all about. not acting. It was about telling the truth through your own viewpoint, through a different character. We'll talk all about that shit too. So he introduced me to a whole new world. And I stopped with the Playhouse. I was now graduating. We're going to talk about how I snaked my way up to clear and how I got up to OT3. All of that was happening while I was now in Bobby's class. So now I was hanging out with kind of the elite operating Thetans. There was a lot of OTs in this class. It was more smaller. It was more special than the Playhouse. It didn't have all the frills and thrills. And Bobby's a fucking amazing, amazing acting teacher. Anyway, so while I was taking classes with him, I was learning more about the business. I'm 5 or 6 years deep now, and I'm getting close to having my first break. And then I'm also trying to get onto these fucking OT levels because I'm thinking as soon as I go spiritually free, that's what's preventing me from finally getting work as an actor. I just need to do these OT levels. I need to go clear. I need to go to these special OT levels. They're going to reveal the secrets to me, and then my acting career will take off. Again, it didn't work out like that at all. Phase 3 happens when Bobby Lyons was a lifetime member of the Actors Studio. The Actors Studio was run by Martin Landau before he passed away a few years ago. And you know how I mentioned there was, 4 or 5 different angels that seemed to come into my life right at the right place at the right time when I look back at my life? And Martin Landau, as well as Bobby Lyons, was another one of these people. So Bobby, because he was a lifetime member of the Actors Studio, he loved it. It was where he learned all his training and all his fucking shit. He encouraged me and my best friend at the time, Nick Lashaway, who I'm going to have more to say about, and we've already covered a little bit. He encouraged me and Nick to go audition at the Actors Studio. He thought we would be able to get in, and he just was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He believed in us, and I had a good relationship with Bobby. I'll talk all about him. So the third and final phase of the season that we're going to be talking about right before I wake up, because I wake up at the Actors Studio through a friend in a single day. Martin Landau ran the studio and, like a father figure, in my opinion, took me under his wing and was a crucial figure in just helping me out in 1,000 different ways, listening to me ramble about this, Scientology shit. Because when I met him a year after I got into the Actors Studio, I got in right away. You have to go through an audition process. I'll talk all about it, but I got in right away by the grace of God. And because of that, that started the deprogramming process subconsciously, which I wasn't aware of. A year later, I woke up and he was going to become, as well as the Actors Studio, a crucial element in order to be able to not kill myself and get through this whole fucking thing. So there you go. That's what we're going to be covering, all the way from a newbie. I want to just be fucking famous. Grade 4 in Scientology, going to Celebrity Center, to having my whole world gradually change through meeting a couple special people and going up the bridge to total amnesia and then getting out. So there you go, my friends. There's a brief introduction on what we're going to be covering, and we'll start to get into the meat of it as we carry forward. Also, this is a pretty free-flowing channel and thing and stuff, but, some things might be happening. Like, when we pick up the next video we're going to do is going to be picking up the training, and then we'll continue the storyline right from where we left off. And the next one, and that's going to take us back to the mission, which we're going to cover in the next episode. That's a whole nother story. There's a lot of stories to talk about. Hopefully in the next technical video that we do here, I can kind of lay out a curriculum of what we're going to be covering when we cover this bridge, this mind control machine. Because like I said, in the Bridge to Total Amnesia, there's 3 basic areas of study we're going to take up, but it encompasses a lot. When I say that Scientology is hypnosis, that is a perfect one-word description to describe it. But the subject of hypnosis itself has so many branches and in such an enormous subject that you'll see what I'm talking about as we go. And that's just one subject. So hopefully I can lay out a brief curriculum of some of the subjects we're going to be covering, and then show you what that bridge looks like finally, so you can see we're going to be going up the training, and then we're going to jump into the auditing here soon, and we're going to cover all of it. That's the technical training films. The story is going to coincide with that. And depending on what does or doesn't happen in the future, I might be interviewing people on this channel that are experts in the areas of mind control, sociopaths, abusive relationships, all the different subjects we're going to be covering. I might interview some people or whatever to bring some more information and to fill in some of the gaps when we start getting into some of these interesting subjects. So with that in mind, my friends, I hope you're doing well out there, and I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you soon on the next one. Take care.